Hey again, folks, and welcome to the 9th episode of Boost It or Bust It. During this week, I spent a bunch of time running all the raid finders and benchmarking them. Stick around for this new sheet, which tells you the ones you need to avoid and those you should definitely be doing on as many tunes as possible. First, I need to take a moment to thank everyone who watched my video last week. The video is the closest thing to viral for me, with over 1,200 views in just 1 week. It helped me to understand that even though many of my viewers know something about making gold, raw gold is still a very important component to each of you. Additionally, as of the time that I am recording this, I'm up to 199 subscribers. Thanks to the new people that joined in last week, and a massive thanks to those who have been following my series from the start. According to my calculations, if each person that tuned in tried the Heart of Fear Raid Finder farm once, we collectively made over 5.4 million gold. I had a really great week of gold making and made some progress towards leveling my tune. So let's get straight into the updates by starting with my busted tune and his leveling. Great news! I'm finally done with the 60 to 80 bracket. Having completed all the quests in Howling Fjord, I moved to the Grizzly Hills for the home stretch of leveling. The Grizzly Hills is one of my favorite zones of all time for the music and the questing, but I only spent a minimal amount of time here. Through my questing, I was able to pick up all sorts of mats that I was able to flip on the AH. Cobalt ore has gone down on this server, but I've noticed that Shovel Tusk Flank is always a good seller. I remember farming these as a leather worker in Wrath, and it's cool to see that it still has a decent value. With a new milestone achieved, I was faced with my next choice on leveling and decided to go with one of my favorite expansions. I chose Mist of Pandaria, and I will be starting next week leveling in the Jade Forest. I spent 3.5 hours on this guy and have played him for a total of 1 day, 22 hours. As mentioned this week, I sold a bunch of random materials, but also managed to sell 1 piece of Transmog and 2 pets. The Transmog I sold was a samurai-style sword named the Dreadblade. I sold this thing for 452 gold. The pets I sold were not earned on this tune. My boosted character has started feeding extra pets over to this server and helped earn my busted character around 8,000 gold. I sold this Amber Glow Stinger and Bayo Z for 38.95 and 39.69 respectively. From the standpoint of this series, technically this 8k could be added to my boosted total, but for now I'm going to leave it separate. Let's shift over to my boosted tune and see how he did from a gold standpoint. My week was productive from a raw gold and auction house standpoint, and overall this allowed me to move from 51% to 66% in 1 week towards my goal of 452k. I continued my weekly raid runs for the raw gold, and I'm going to provide my findings on the most efficient raids to run. A quick note for everyone: being efficient is important, but it isn't everything. If you're enjoying playing and you're generally moving forward, that's what counts. If you find yourself doing laps around Orgrimmar or Stormwind, use that time to run some of the less efficient ones. There are a few raid finders that are true stinkers, but if you need the mount or pet, you should still run them. That info is coming up after my AH results, so stick around. For Transmog, I had a pretty good week with multiple items selling and 1 lucrative item. I sold a Feral Fen Jerkin for 933 gold, a Master's Vest for 310 gold, Heaving Plates of Protection for 873 gold, and this engraved breastplate for 841. I'm happy with the sales, but honestly I've spent so little time farming Transmog, I think I might start a little more this next week. This Plundered Molten Reaper sold for 8,103 gold. I almost thought about learning it, but thought, that isn't the spirit of this series. At any rate, I'm happy with the gold, and I recommend you watch out for the stuff that drops off the islands, and do not vendor it. For pets, the market has been set for the new Raiding with Leashes pets, and they seem to sell between 2k and 5k gold on my server. I sold 5 of the pets for a total of 12,442 gold. I also sold various other pets for less than 350 gold apiece. I managed to make some decent gold on Trillium and Magnificent Hide, and sold more Laystone and Fellslate ore. I spent 3,200 gold for 4 stacks of laystone ore, which I earned back through the sale of 1 stack. Lastly, I invested a bunch of gold into leveling my garrison to level 3 so that I could run Raid Finder. I should have kept better track of how much I paid, but 10k gold about covers all my buildings and my keep upgraded to level 3. Overall, I made 23k in raw gold and earned 44k in the auction house to hit a total of 298k gold. With the update complete, let's take a look at my sheets for the week. First things first, to run LFR you want to visit the following NPCs respectively for Pandaria and Draenor Raid Finder. For Pandaland, as covered in last week's video, you can access Lorewalker Han here in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. For Draenor, you will need to invest a little bit in your garrison. As mentioned, you will have to rank your keep up to level 3, which brings with it a 5k price tag. At that point, find Seer Kazal in your garrison. His location is different dependent on your faction. So let's start out by talking you through each of the visuals that's located on this report. So to start out, let's look at the total amount of gold that I collected from the raids. That's 16,089 gold. You can see that I ran for a total of 10,215 seconds. That roughly translates to about 2 hours and 50 minutes. You can see the gold per second for each of the different dungeons. You can see the gold per minute, and then of course the gold per hour. It's important to note that these are sorted according to the gold per hour right now, and you can see that Terrace of Endless Spring came in at the highest amount of gold per hour, and Siege of Orgrimmar came in at the lowest gold per hour. So next, let's take a look at this visual right here. I'm going to zoom in since you can't really see the numbers. So basically what you're looking at here, this is the legend. Each of the wings are represented by a different color. The numbers don't matter so much. The blue line is basically the number of minutes that it took to run the entire dungeon, and it is sorted from highest gold per hour to lowest gold per hour. So you can see that often there's a very big correlation between Terrace of Endless Spring takes 4 minutes to run and you earn about 10.3k gold, whereas Siege of Orgrimmar takes 48 minutes to run and you're earning somewhere between 2.2 and 3.2k gold. You can also see that Hellfire Citadel has some of the most lucrative areas, including 23.8k gold for Wing 5. You can see that Throne of Thunder and Blackrock Foundry are very, very close to each other, despite the fact that the Throne of Thunder takes a little bit longer. Lastly, the biggest thing to note is that whenever there's role-playing involved in the boss fight, you're going to lose gold. Mogashan Vaults, the last 3 bosses, all have some element of roleplay, so it doesn't matter how efficient you are, you're going to be punished by that roleplay time. Alright, so let's return back to my regular report. Next, let's look at my ranking. Basically here you have gold per hour and total seconds by wing. So basically what this does is ranks everything from first to worst. And lastly, we also have the total number of seconds per wing. What I'm trying to show here is that there is a correlation between time and how much money you earn. So you can see that obviously Siege of Orgrimmar is the worst. Simply just don't run it. You can see it's the worst here. It takes the most time. It was single-handedly almost a third of the time that I spent running. So I just won't run it on Raid Finder anymore, personally. You can also see that some of these have very, very low time to actually complete them. So Hellfire Citadel, which I'd mentioned was the highest, is only 45 seconds to kill that one boss, and you earn a decent amount of gold out of it. So which ones should you run? Well, I can say it emphatically, basically Siege of Orgrimmar is the one that you want to avoid. You can also see that Throne of Thunder suffers a little bit only for Wing 2 because it takes 780 seconds to complete. What I'm taking a look at is basically as long as the gold per hour is at least over, I don't know, about 7.5, even 7, those are ones that I'm definitely going to run. You can see what happens when I select only those ones. Our gold per hour will all of a sudden jump up to somewhere around 8.8k, whereas previously it was sitting at only 5.6k. Also, you can choose to run only things with certain amount of seconds. So if I put 45 to 340, well, that's going to restrict the number of different runs, and you can see for the most part the low amount of seconds will translate into higher amounts of gold per hour. High Mall is the exception in this particular case. For me, I'm going to focus on running as many possible ones that I can, aside from Siege of Orgrimmar. Now, if you like this video and you want to see more of my series, please leave comments below, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.